They said an Omega who cannot speak has nothing to offer a king. They said a man who moves in silence is invisible by nature, forgettable, replaceable. They were wrong. Because for 3 years, Seoul Gino had been the most dangerous person in the most powerful empire in East Asia, and nobody knew it. Not the board members who walked past him in the hallway, not the rivals who sat across the negotiation table, not even the 3 kings he served every single day. Until the morning, they took him and discovered, too late, exactly what they had put their hands on. This is the story of the ghost who was never truly invisible, and the 3 kings who crossed an ocean alone to prove it. Listen closely. Seoul Gino was 24 years old when he walked into the Kang Empire headquarters for the first time, wearing a gray suit that was clean and pressed, but clearly not new, carrying a leather folio that was more worn than his shoes. He had been born mute. 24 years of silence. Not the silence of someone who had nothing to say. The silence of someone who had learned, very early, that the world underestimates what it cannot hear. He sat in the waiting room for 40 minutes, while 3 other candidates went in before him. All 3 came out pale and shaken, moving toward the elevator with the energy of people who had just survived something. Gino watched them go. He pulled out a small notepad and wrote in neat, precise handwriting. They all forgot to bow when they entered. Second mistake. First was probably eye contact. He capped his pen, straightened his tie, and waited. When they called his name, he stood, walked through the heavy oak doors, and faced the 3 most feared alpha kings in all of East Asia. Kang Junho sat in the center, oldest by 11 minutes, sharpest jaw, coldest eyes. He held a pen between 2 fingers like a weapon he had not decided to use yet. Kang Junsu sat on the left. He leaned back with the loose confidence of someone who has never had to prove anything to anyone. His eyes moved over Gino with the focused precision of a surgeon. Kang Jong-won sat on the right. He appeared the most relaxed, which, according to everything Gino had researched, made him the most dangerous. He was the one who smiled during negotiations, the one who made the final cuts. 3 pairs of identical gray eyes fixed on Gino. He bowed. Exactly the correct angle, held it for exactly the correct number of seconds, straightened. Now then he opened his folio, removed a single index card, and placed it on the desk facing them. It read, "I am mute. I communicate through writing, sign language, and lip reading. I read lips in Korean, English, Japanese, Mandarin, and enough Russian to be dangerous. I type at 140 words per minute. I have a photographic memory. I have never been late to anything in my professional career. I do not require verbal communication to do my job. I require only that you speak clearly when facing me." The candidate before me forgot to bow. The one before that made eye contact for too long. The one before that talked too much about themselves. I will not make any of those mistakes. Junho picked up the card. "Read it." Passed it to Junsu. Junsu read it. Passed it to Jungwon. A Jungwon read it, and for the first time since Gino had entered the room, one corner of his mouth moved. Not quite a smile, but something. "When can you start?" Junho asked. Gino picked up his pen, wrote on his notepad, turned it to face them. It read, "I already started. I have been memorizing your schedule from the briefing documents your receptionist left on the waiting room table. You have a meeting with the park delegation at 2 p.m. that has a seating arrangement problem. I can fix it before noon." All 3 of them looked at him. Then Jungwon smiled. It was a terrifying, delighted smile. "You are hired," he said. What followed was 3 years of invisible perfection. Gino learned them the way you learn a language. Not from a textbook, but from living inside it. He learned that Junho drank his coffee black and too hot, that his jaw clenched exactly twice before he made a decision that would cost someone their position. He learned that Junsu worked best after midnight, that he kept a photograph of their late mother in the inner pocket of every jacket he owned. He learned that Jungwon, the youngest, the smiling one, was the most precise of all of them, and that the smile was a tool he used, the way a surgeon uses a scalpel. He learned their silences, their tells, the particular way each of them breathed when they were worried and pretending not to be. And they learned him too, whether they admitted it or not. Junho learned that Gino always positioned himself near the door in high-tension meetings, not from fear, but from habit, so he could observe everyone's face simultaneously. He learned that Gino's handwriting changed when he was tired, at the letters tightening, and that this was the only external sign the Omega ever gave of any internal state. Junsu learned that Gino ate alone in the break room at exactly 12:15 every day, always the same small container of food from home, always finished in exactly 20 minutes. He learned that Gino was a reader, that he kept a worn paperback in his left inside pocket and was always 60 pages from the end of whatever book it was, as if he rationed himself. Youngwon learned that Gino laughed with his eyes, that when something was genuinely funny, not politely amusing, but actually funny, his amber eyes crinkled at the outer corners, and a single dimple appeared on his left cheek, gone in an instant. He learned to watch for it. He started, without fully realizing he was doing it, saying things designed to produce it. None of them said any of this out loud, not to each other, not to themselves, but the empire ran smoother than it ever had. Problems dissolved before they became crises because someone had seen the warning signs 3 days in advance and quietly resolved them. 1,000 small disasters were averted by a pair of hands that moved in silence and left no trace. The ghost in the corner kept the whole machine breathing, and all three of them, in the space between sleep and waking, where truth lives, knew something they would not say, that the ghost had become the heartbeat. If you are already feeling something for Gino right now, drop a comment below and tell me, because this story is only just beginning, and I promise you, it gets so much better. March 3rd, 6:58 in the morning. Junho was already in the war room. He sat at the head of the table, the morning briefing documents spread before him, coffee untouched. He had a 7 a.m. meeting with the board. He had been in this chair since 6:30 because Gino had already placed everything in the precise order he preferred it, the way he did every single morning, arriving before sunrise and leaving after midnight like a law of physics rather than an employee. Except this morning, the coffee was already cold, which meant it had been placed here more than 20 minutes ago, which meant Gino had come in, prepared the room, and then left. Junho checked his watch, 6:59. He checked his phone, no message. He checked the building entry log. Gino's badge had scanned in at 5:47 a.m. Standard. Then the exit log showed 6:03. Junho sat very still for a moment. Then he called Junsu. I know, Junsu answered before Junho could speak. His voice was tight. I just checked the log. He left through the east stairwell. There is no record of him coming back in. He does not use the east stairwell, Junho said. He always uses the main elevator. The silence between them held the weight of everything neither was saying. Jungwon, Junho said. Already pulling the camera feeds, Jungwon's voice came from behind him. Junho turned. His youngest brother was standing in the doorway, laptop open, the sharp smile entirely absent from his face. East stairwell camera was disabled at 5:51 a.m., Jungwon said. His voice was perfectly level, which meant he was the furthest from level he had been in years. The street camera on the south exit shows a black van, no plates. It left at 6:04, and the three of them looked at each other. A van with no plates, a disabled camera, and their Omega was gone. Junho stood. He did not knock the chair over. He did not raise his voice. He simply stood up with the slow, inevitable deliberateness of something tectonic. Find out who, he said quietly. Already running it, Jungwon said. Cancel everything, Junsu said, closing his own laptop. All of it. The board meeting, one of the junior assistants started from the doorway. All three pairs of gray eyes turned to him simultaneously. The junior assistant took 2 steps backward and found something very important to do somewhere else. Find him, Junho said. Now, on the other side of the world, on an island that did not appear on any commercial map. Seo Gino woke up to salt air. His first thought was, concrete floor, damp. Ocean proximity based on the humidity and mineral scent. Temperature suggests tropical latitude. His second thought was, my hands are bound. He cataloged the rest quickly. Eyes open. Natural light from a single high window suggesting late afternoon. Wrists zip-tied in front. Amateurs, not behind. A critical error on their part. A bruise on his left temple. His phone was gone. His notepad was gone. His pen was gone. The room was a concrete cell approximately 4 by 5 meters. One door, heavy steel, locked from outside. The smell of generator fuel nearby meant a remote facility with insufficient power infrastructure for a large settlement. Island, he concluded, or very remote coastline. He sat up carefully, assessed his physical state. No serious injuries beyond the temple. Mild dehydration. Approximately 8 to 10 hours unconscious based on his hunger level. Then he began to think. The door opened. A man walked in. Late 40s, expensive suit, incongruous with the concrete room. He had the particular kind of smile that people wear when they believe they hold all the cards. Gino recognized him immediately. Park Do-hyun, former business associate of the Kang Empire, removed from the partnership 18 months ago after Gino had discovered and quietly documented evidence of financial fraud. He had presented the documentation to Junho with a single highlighted note. Recommend immediate severance. Evidence attached. Junho had severed him the same afternoon. Park Do-hyun crouched down to Gino's eye level. His lips moved. I know you cannot talk. That is fine. I do not need you to talk. I just need the Kangs to know I have you. Now, the rest takes care of itself. They think they are untouchable. Let us see how untouchable they are when their favorite little assistant is on an island they cannot find. Gino looked at him. Then he looked slowly, deliberately, around the room. At the door, at the window, at the two guards visible through the door frame. At the generator hum he could feel through the floor. At the salt moisture on the concrete walls that told him exactly how close to the water they were. Then he looked back at Park Do-hyun, and he smiled. It was a small, quiet smile, almost polite. Park Do-hyun's own smile faltered slightly, though he could not have said why. You have no idea where you are, he said, more firmly, as if reassuring himself. No phone, no way to communicate, no way out. Even if they come, which I doubt, they will never find this island in time. Yeah, he left, the door locked. Gino sat for a moment in the silence that had been his entire world since birth. Then he looked at his bound wrists, tilted his head slightly, and began working on the zip tie, because there were 3 things Park Do-hyun did not know. The first was that in 3 years of service to the Kang Empire, Gino had been in the room for every security briefing, every extraction plan, every contingency protocol. He knew exactly how the triplets thought when someone they valued was taken. The second was that 2 years ago, quietly and without telling anyone, he had completed a 12-week advanced security training course, not because anyone asked him to, because he had assessed that his position made him a potential target, and he preferred to be prepared. The third was that 6 months ago, while in the middle of a routine document signing, Young-won had looked up and looked directly at him, and said, quietly, so quietly that only Gino could have read his lips from that distance, if anything ever happens. The East Channel, frequency 7. You will know what it means. Gino had memorized it, filed it away, hoped he would never need it. He needed it now. The zip tie gave. He stood up. Time to get to work. Are you nervous for him right now? Because I was when I wrote this. Keep watching. I promise he does not need saving. Not in the way you think. Hour 1. Gino located a weak point in the cell's ventilation and confirmed his suspicion about the facility layout. Single story, built into a hillside, ocean on the south face. Hour 2. He got the door open. This required no words. He simply waited until the younger of the 2 guards made his check, established eye contact, and pointed urgently at the corner of the room with an expression of confused alarm. When the guard's attention shifted, Gino was already behind him. 3 seconds. The guard was on the floor. He helped himself to the guard's radio, earpiece, and key card. Hour 3. He mapped the entire facility, moving through corridors with the particular stillness of someone who has never made unnecessary noise. Gino walked the whole compound. 12 guards on active patrol, 6 at fixed points. Generator room on the east side. Communication hub on the north. 2 patrol boats at the south pier. He also found what he was looking for. A radio transmitter in the communication hub. Older model but functional. East Channel, frequency 7. He sat down, tuned the frequency with hands that did not shake, and sent a single transmission, not words. He had none to give, but a pattern. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. Then his location in Morse code. Then the complete facility layout. Then he destroyed the jamming equipment that had been blocking satellite signals for a 3-kilometer radius. Hour 4. He returned to his cell, confirmed the unconscious guard was still breathing comfortably, and waited. Park Do-hyun came in around 2 in the morning. He looked less composed than before. How did you? He started. He stopped. He looked at Gino sitting calmly on the floor. You are not scared at all, are you? Gino tilted his head slightly. Who are you? Park Do-hyun asked, and for the first time it sounded like a genuine question rather than a rhetorical one. Gino picked up a piece of broken concrete from the floor. He scratched 4 words into the wall. They are already coming. Park Do-hyun looked at the words, looked back at Gino. The rehearsed confidence began to crack at the edges. The island is undetectable. The jamming equipment. Gino pointed at the words again. They are already coming. There are 40 men between you and the shore. Gino smiled, the small, polite smile from before. Park Do-hyun took a step backward. From somewhere on the north side of the island, faint but unmistakable, came the distant thrum of a helicopter. Back in Seoul, 12 hours after Gino's disappearance, Jung-won had 12 screens running simultaneously. Satellite imagery, shipping lane data, financial transaction chains, facial recognition feeds from every airport within a 1,000-kilometer radius. His fingers moved across the keyboard with a speed that had stopped being human somewhere around hour 6. Junsu was on the phone. He had been on the phone for most of the 12 hours, his voice low and absolutely controlled, calling in every favor, every debt, every piece of intelligence the Empire had accumulated over a decade. His expression had not changed in hours. Neither had the white-knuckle grip on the edge of the table. Junho stood at the window, looking out over Seoul's nighttime skyline. He had said almost nothing for 3 hours. This was how they all knew he was the furthest gone. Junho, who always spoke first, always set the direction, standing at the window in absolute silence. Park Do-hyun, Jungwon said. Both brothers turned. Financial trail. He has been liquidating assets for 6 weeks, moving money to a shell company. I traced it to a property purchase. Jungwon turned one of his screens toward them. Private island, South China Sea. Purchased 11 months ago. Cash. He has been planning this for almost a year, Junsu said. He picked Gino specifically, Junho said. His voice was very quiet. He knows what he is to us. The sentence sat in the room. What he is to us. None of them addressed it. All 3 of them heard it. How long to reach the island? Junho asked. By helicopter, 6 hours. I count 40 armed personnel on the satellite imagery, Jungwon said. Perimeter cameras, 2 patrol boats. Call the extraction team, Junsu said. No, Junho said. Both brothers looked at him. No team, Junho said. We go alone. The silence that followed was the particular kind that exists between people who understand each other completely and are deciding whether to voice as what they both already know. 40 armed personnel, Junsu said carefully. I know. Junho. He has been there for 12 hours, Junho said. Alone, in the dark, unable to speak. Something moved behind his gray eyes. Something that had been very carefully locked away for 3 years and was now refusing to stay contained. We go alone. No witnesses, no paperwork, no rules. Jungwon closed his laptop slowly, deliberately. I will file the flight plan, he said. Junsu looked at his 2 brothers for a long moment. Then he put down his phone. I will get the gear, he said. If you are not already obsessed with these 3 men, I do not know what to tell you. Hit that like button right now because this next part is the part I have been waiting to show you. The helicopter landed on the North Beach at 3:17 in the morning. 3 men stepped out. No tactical team, no extraction unit, no army. Just Kang Junho, Kang Junsu, Kang Jungwon. They wore black. They moved in absolute silence. They had been doing this, moving together, communicating without words, operating as a single organism with 3 bodies, since they were children sharing a bedroom and a language nobody else knew. 6 on the north perimeter, Junsu said quietly, reading the thermal display. 4 more at the east entrance. Jungwon has the east, Junho said. Not a question. Junho has north, Jungwon confirmed. I have the communication hub, Junsu said. Gino destroyed the jammers. That means Park knows we are coming. He paused. Good. I want him to know. They separated. What followed was 12 minutes that nobody on that island would ever fully describe coherently afterward. Not because it was chaotic. It was the opposite of chaotic. It was precise in a way that felt almost supernatural. 3 men who had spent a lifetime moving in absolute coordination, who thought in the same rhythms and anticipated each other's actions without communication, who were operating not with military training, but with something older and more absolute, motivation. The guards on the north perimeter encountered Junho and found that everything they knew about the limits of what one man could do was slightly incorrect. The guards on the east entrance encountered Jungwon and discovered that the smiling one was only the most dangerous when he stopped smiling. But the communication hub encountered Junsu and ceased to be a functional facility. 12 minutes. Then all 3 of them were at the door of the cell. Junho had the key card. He scanned it. The lock disengaged with a soft click. He pushed the door open, and there was Gino, sitting cross-legged on the floor, completely composed. A faint bruise on his temple, hands in his lap. All 3 of them went very still in the doorway. Gino looked up at them. His amber eyes moved across all 3 faces the way they always did. Quick, thorough, reading everything. Then the crinkles appeared at the outer corners of his eyes. The single dimple appeared on his left cheek, gone in an instant. But all 3 of them saw it. Junho crossed the room in 4 strides and crouched down in front of Gino. He reached out and gently, with a careful precision that was entirely unlike the 12 minutes that had preceded it, touched the bruise at Gino's temple with 2 fingers. His jaw clenched twice. Gino raised one hand and signed slowly. I am okay. I know, Junho said. His voice was different from usual, stripped of everything professional. I know you are okay. I can see that you are okay. He did not move his hand from Gino's face. Junsu crouched on Gino's other side. He said nothing. He simply put his hand over Gino's and held it. Jungwon stood in the doorway. Then he stepped into the room and looked at the wall where Gino had scratched the words, "They are already coming." He looked at them for a long moment. Then he turned. His smile was back, but different now, unguarded, real. "4 languages," he said. "Photographic memory, 140 words per minute." He gestured at the wall, at the unconscious guard in the corner, at the evidence of 4 hours of systematic silent problem-solving. "Also did a 12-week security course. When exactly?" Gino held up 2 fingers. 2 years ago, Junsu said softly. "You have been preparing for this for 2 years. Gino looked at him. Then he signed. "I knew I was a target. I prepared." "You should have told us," Junho said. Gino held his gaze for a moment. Then he signed. "You would have tried to protect me." "Yes," Junho said. Gino signed. "I did not want protection. I wanted to be useful." The 3 of them looked at him. Something shifted in the room. Something that had been building for 3 years through 1,000 cold mornings and midnight briefings and small moments that none of them had allowed themselves to name. "Gino," Junho said. Gino looked at him. "You have always been useful." Junho's voice was quiet and completely unguarded in a way Gino had never heard from him before. That was never what this was. Gino went very still. Junsu's hand tightened on his. "We looked for you for 12 hours, Junsu said. "We canceled everything, every meeting, every deal. We did not care about any of it. We came alone because we did not want anyone else here for this." Gino's amber eyes moved between them, reading, processing. Jungwon walked over and sat down on the concrete floor beside him, cross-legged, like they were back in the war room at 3 in the morning reviewing documents. "We have been liars," Jungwon said conversationally. "Very accomplished liars, professionally, but also personally." He looked at Gino with that direct, unshielded gaze. "We have been lying to ourselves about you for approximately 2.5 years. Gino looked at him. "I have a photographic memory too," Jungwon added. "Not as good as yours, but I remember the exact moment it started for me." He paused. "You left a sticky note on my 4 a.m. coffee that said, 'You have been awake for 31 hours. Sleep, not your job. You did not have to.'" He paused again. "I have been finished for someone ever since." Gino stared at him. "I am going to tell you something," Junho said quietly, "and I need you to read my lips very carefully, because I am only saying this in a concrete cell on an island at 3 in the morning once." He held Gino's gaze. "You are not an assistant. You have not been an assistant for a very long time. You are what you are to us does not have a professional category." Gino signed slowly. "Now what category does it have?" All 3 of them looked at him. "Ours," Junsu said. The words sat in that concrete room like something that had been waiting a long time to be said. Gino looked at Junsu, then Junho, then Jungwon. His eyes were very bright. He signed. "I have been yours for 2 years. I was waiting for you to notice." The silence that followed lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then Junho made a sound that was entirely unlike anything that had ever come out of him, in a boardroom or a war room or anywhere in the professional world. Something between an exhale and a laugh, and something with no name at all. He pulled Gino forward and pressed his forehead to Gino's the way wolves do when words are not sufficient. Junsu's arm came around Gino's shoulders. Jungwon put his hand on top of both of theirs, and for a moment, all 4 of them sat on the concrete floor of a cell on an island that was already burning behind them. And everything that had been building for 3 years collapsed the distance between them all at once. "I need to know if you're crying right now, because I need to know I am not alone in this. Leave me a comment. I am reading every single one." They found Park Do-hyun in the command room, attempting to contact someone on a radio that Gino had very thoroughly disabled 2 hours earlier. He turned when they entered. He had been a powerful man for 30 years. He had sat across tables from wolves who could have destroyed him and held his ground. He had cultivated the particular posture of someone who believes that confidence is the same thing as safety. Round he took one look at the 3 men standing in his doorway, and the small, quiet Omega standing between them, unhurt, composed, with warm amber eyes, and every piece of that posture left him. "You cannot," he started. "You have no jurisdiction here. This island is private property," Junho agreed. "Your private property, which means there are no witnesses and no jurisdiction." "Yes." Park Do-hyun looked at Jungwon. Jungwon was smiling. He looked at Junsu. Junsu was not. He looked at Gino. Gino tilted his head slightly. "I want you to understand something," Junho said, stepping into the room with the slow inevitability that had characterized him for the past 12 hours. "You chose him specifically because you knew what he was to us, because you thought that was your leverage." "It was," Park Do-hyun started. "It was," Junho agreed. "You were correct about his value to us. You were incorrect about what that would make us do." He paused. "You thought it would make us careful, negotiable, afraid of consequences. We came alone. to an island with 40 armed guards, with no backup and no plan except finding him. We do not get careful, Junsu said from behind him. We get here. Park Do-hyun was trembling now. The council. We are the council, Jung-won said pleasantly. What happened next on that island was between 4 people and the South China Sea and would not appear in any official record. What appeared in the financial news 3 days later was a brief item noting that the assets of Park Do-hyun had been transferred in their entirety to the Kang Family Foundation for Omega Welfare, and that Park Do-hyun himself had made a voluntary and apparently quite enthusiastic full confession to every illegal activity of the past decade. The reporter noted that he seemed very motivated to cooperate. The helicopter back to Seoul flew in the gray light before dawn. Gino sat between Junsu and Jung-won. Junho was in the pilot seat. Below them, the South China Sea spread out silver and enormous. Junsu had given Gino his jacket somewhere around the facility exit. Gino was wearing it now, sleeves past his hands, a problem he appeared to have no interest in solving. Jung-won was watching him, the way he had been since the cell. The unguarded way, the way that had no professional qualifier. Gino felt his gaze and turned. Jung-won sighed. Are you actually okay? Gino considered this seriously, the way he considered everything. Then he signed back. I was scared when I woke up. For approximately 4 minutes. And then I had things to do. Jung-won smiled. Not the sharp professional smile, the real one. You sent the transmission before we even knew where you were. You told me the frequency. Gino signed. 2 years ago. I thought you forgot. I never forget anything about you. Gino looked at him for a long moment. Then he signed. I know. I have known for a while. Why did you not say anything? Gino's expression shifted. Something quiet and honest and long-held. Because I did not know if it was real, or if I was just necessary, useful. I did not know if you wanted me or needed me. They are different things. Jung-won was quiet for a moment. Then he reached over and, very carefully, very deliberately, took Gino's hand, the one still swallowed by his brother's jacket sleeve. Both, he said, out loud so Gino could read his lips clearly in the pale morning light. We need you, and we want you, and those have been the same thing for a long time. From the pilot seat, without turning around, Junho spoke. He is right. Junsu's arm tightened around Gino's shoulders. Gino sat between the 3 of them as Seoul's skyline appeared on the horizon, pink and silver in the early light. He thought about 3 years of cold mornings and late nights and the specific quality of being seen without anyone admitting they were looking. About 3 men who came alone to an island with 40 guards because the paperwork of a team would have slowed them down by 20 minutes, and 20 minutes was too long. He signed, to no one in particular, and all 3 of them at once. I want to complete the bond. The helicopter was very quiet for a moment. Then Junho's voice from the pilot seat. When we land. Junsu. Yes. Jung-won squeezed his hand, said nothing, did not need to. Gino leaned his head back and watched Seoul grow larger through the window. For the first time in 27 years of silence, the quiet felt full. 6 months later, the Kang Empire's annual board meeting was the most important gathering of the year. 500 of the most powerful wolves in East Asia assembled in the grand ballroom of Kang Tower, waiting for the 3 kings to walk through the door. They had been waiting for approximately 3 seconds before the whispers started. He wore deep navy, simply cut. The 3 claiming marks on his neck, one on the left, one on the right, one at the base of his throat, precisely placed and permanent, were visible above his collar. He wore no concealer over them. He had been told by all 3 of them at various times and in various ways that they were not marks of possession. They were marks of choice. His choice and theirs, made in the blue light of a Seoul dawn after a night that nobody on a certain South China Sea island would be forgetting. He walked into the grand ballroom slightly ahead of the 3 kings, not beside them, not behind them, slightly ahead, because Junho had looked at him that morning and said, "You always went last. You do not go last anymore." 500 wolves turned. The whispers moved through the room like a current. That is the assistant, the mute one. He is there, all 3 of them. Gino had prepared a notepad. In his neat, precise handwriting, he had prepared exactly what he wanted to say. Not for the board. They would fall in line regardless. The 3 kings would ensure that, for himself. Because he had spent 3 years speaking and writing and moving in silence, and he had things to say. He walked to the podium, placed his notepad in front of him, looked out at 500 faces. Then he set the notepad aside, and he signed, slowly, clearly, in full view of the room. My name is Gino. I have been an Omega in this empire for 3 years. I have been invisible for most of that time, not because I was weak, because I was watching. He paused. Let them read. I'll let them understand. You will find in the document folders at your seats a full audit of the past 3 years. Every inefficiency, every internal fraud, every person in this room who has been building something behind the king's backs. I found them. I documented them. I waited. The sound in the room changed. The rustling of document folders. You have 2 choices this morning. You can look at me and see a mute omega and decide that means I am manageable. Or you can read the documents and understand what 3 years of silence actually produces. He looked out at them. 500 faces, some pale, some calculating, some beginning slowly to understand. I recommend the documents. From behind him he felt, rather than heard, Jung-won's quiet laugh. Felt Jun-soo's steady presence at his left. Felt Junho step up beside him. Junho spoke, and his voice carrying through the entire hall. He is not your assistant anymore. He's not anyone's assistant. He's the chief intelligence officer of Kang Empire, and he is our mate. He paused, letting that settle. Anyone with a problem with either of those facts should find it in the documents my mate just placed in front of you. I believe you will find the documents very persuasive. Not a single person in the room spoke. Gino picked up his notepad, wrote one final line, turned it to face the room. Meeting adjourned. You have 48 hours to make your decisions. He walked off the podium. Junho fell into step on his right, Junsu on his left, Jungwon behind, the way they had always moved, except now there was no pretending it was professional. As they walked into the corridor, Jungwon leaned in close enough for Gino to read his lips clearly. The documents, Jungwon said. When did you put them together? Gino considered, then held up 3 fingers. 3 years, Junsu said. Something in his voice that had no professional category either. Gino nodded. You have been running a parallel intelligence operation inside our empire for 3 years, Junho said slowly. While we thought you were making coffee, Gino smiled. The crinkles, the dimple, gone in an instant. Then he signed. I was also making excellent coffee. All 3 of them stopped walking. Then Junho made that sound again, the one with no name that had first appeared in a concrete cell on an island at 3 in the morning, and pulled Gino into his side. You are the most terrifying person I have ever met, he said. And I run a criminal empire. Gino leaned into him. Now reached back for Junsu's hand, found Jungwon already there. He thought about a first day and a worn suit and an index card placed on a mahogany desk. He thought about frequency 7 and an island that no longer existed in any relevant sense, and the sound of a helicopter over silver water. He thought about what it meant to be seen, truly seen, not as furniture, not as function, not as useful, as necessary in the way that breathing is necessary, in the way that home is necessary. He signed slowly to all 3 of them. I was invisible for a long time. Junho, we know. You found me anyway. Jungwon, we were always going to find you. I know, Gino signed. And for the first time in 27 years, the silence had company. And that is the story of Seo Gino, the ghost who was never truly invisible. Yes, and the 3 kings who crossed an ocean alone to prove it. It started with an index card on a desk and ended with 3 marks on a neck and 500 wolves learning that the quietest person in the room had been the most dangerous one all along. It reminds us that being overlooked is not the same as being weak, and that sometimes the person everyone walks past is the one holding everything together. What was your favorite moment in this story? When Gino smiled at Park Do-hyun in the cell? When Junho said we go alone? Or that very first index card on the desk? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. It truly helps this channel grow. Subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another story. And if you want more stories like this one, share it with someone who loves a quiet character with an absolutely devastating plot twist. Until next time, stay with the pack.